Now, I was watching Phantom Menace recently, and I came across something interesting that I didn't notice before. Maybe I missed it, and also I wasn't really studying slavery at the time, so I guess it didn't dawn on me. But we know that Anakin was a slave, or is a slave, was a slave, and he came across this guy named Sebulba. Now, the reason why he came across because like Jar Jar Binks was causing problems, and he ran into that alien Sebulba, and he was going to do something to him. And Anakin steps in, and they start talking. And Sebulba says to Anakin, "You're lucky." Basically, he says, "You're lucky you're a slave, or else I would squash you." It's like if you weren't a slave, I would squash you. So it's like, well, that's exactly what I've been saying for the longest time because we know that slaves are property. Property is valuable. So if anybody else touches the slave owner's property, the slave owner is going to interfere, and the slave owner is going to wreak havoc on that person that damaged his property because you don't mess with the slave owner's property, and that's basically what he's saying. Like, I'm not going to touch you because you're a slave, but if you weren't a slave, I would touch you. And I keep on saying that when black people got out of slavery, that's when they started attacking us. Because there was accountability when we were slaves. You can't just like attack a slave and think the slave owner's not going to do anything about it. So all those lynchings, all those black massacres and stuff like that, that happened under the free system. When black people were not property anymore. People think that, oh, property and slaves, it's the worst thing ever. Really? It was actually a boon. It was beneficial for black people because they couldn't attack us. But once we got out of slavery, oh yeah, they started attacking us like crazy, like crazy. So I know what I'm talking about. The evidence is right there in your face. People always think as property as a bad thing, but when it comes to your property and stuff like that, do you damage your property? I know some people do. I see some people like, they have their phone, they get upset or something like that, and they start smashing their stuff, and it's like, whoa, you're crazy, man. Like, why are you smashing your stuff? You know how expensive that is? But some people just lose it. So there's something wrong with them. That is a small percentage of the population. But they're telling us the vast majority of slave owners were constantly damaging and destroying their property. Business owners were constantly damaging and destroying their property on a regular basis, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it's almost as if like nobody like thinks about this. Nobody thinks about this at all. They just like believe what they say about the slave owners, that they were such idiots that they were constantly damaging and destroying their property, and that black people were so docile and so doltish and feeble-minded that they allowed themselves to be brutalized for centuries. And if you know anything about black people, we would not tolerate that. If that happened to some black people, I understand. But the vast majority, that's ridiculous. It's just like police brutality. You think that's happening to the vast majority of black people? No, it's happening to a small percentage of black people. The vast majority of black people are not encountering to police, and we're not having problems with police brutality. But there is a problem, and it has to be rectified because these police officers can't be able to do whatever they want to black people. And it's the same way under slavery. There was a problem, but the vast majority of slave owners were doing that? No. The vast majority of cops are attacking black people? No. It's not like that. So there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of propaganda, and you have to see through it.